Hi everyone, this is Zakir and this is the 15th video in our module functions. In the previous video, we discussed two types of partial fractions. Check that video in the description below to understand this video better. Today, we will be discussing two more types of partial fractions. So, the third situation is when the denominator has repeated linear factors. For example, let's take this fraction 1 over x plus 1 into x plus 2 whole thing squared. Here, the repeated linear factor is x plus 2 whole thing squared. When there is a repeated linear factor, the final answer will be in the form a over x plus 1 plus b over x plus 2 whole thing squared plus c over x plus 2. If the repeated linear factor is x plus 2 to the power 3, then the partial fraction will have another denominator or as x plus 2 to the power 3. So now we simplify as we learnt in the previous video. We multiply the whole equation by the denominator, giving us this equation. Then we substitute x equals minus 1 to make this term and this term 0. So then we can find a. So when we substitute x equals minus 1, we get a equals 1. Then we substitute x equals minus 2 to make this term and this term 0. So when we substitute x equals minus 2, we get b equals minus 1. Now we substitute any random value. For example, if we substitute x equals 0, since we already know the values of a and b, we can find the value of c by substituting these values in this equation. So we get c equals minus 1. So the final answer would be 1 over x plus 1 into x plus 2 whole thing squared equals 1 over x plus 1 minus 1 over x plus 2 whole thing squared minus 1 over x plus 2. The fourth and final situation is when we have an improper fraction. That is, when the degree of the numerator is greater than or equal to the degree of the denominator. Let's take this example. Here we can see that the degree of the numerator is 2 and the degree of the denominator is also 2. So they are equal. So what we do first is we divide the numerator by the denominator using the long division method. Check the link in the description below to quickly learn the long division method. When we divide this using the long division method, we get 1 as the quotient and x plus 5 as the remainder. So this fraction can be simplified into 1 plus x plus 5 divided by x squared plus x minus 2. So now we have simplified it from an improper fraction to a proper fraction. If you see, the denominator can also be factorized into x plus 2 and x minus 1. So this fraction can now be simplified. So we get a over x plus 2 plus b over x minus 1. After multiplying it by the denominator, we get x plus 5 equals a into x minus 1 plus b into x plus 2. So to find b, we make a 0. So we substitute x equals 1 and we get b equals 2. To find a, we make this 0. So we substitute x equals minus 2. This gives us a equals minus 1. So now that we have the values, we can substitute this into the initial equation. So that gives us x squared plus 2x plus 3 divided by x plus 2 into x minus 1 equals 1 minus 1 over x plus 2 plus 2 over x minus 1. Now for the tip of the day. When you are given a denominator in the form of x squared minus a squared, you can simplify it into linear factors x minus a and x plus a. Many students skip this and continue to solve it as a quadratic function. So for example, let's take this 1 over x squared minus 3. So this can be simplified as a over x plus root 3 plus b over x minus root 3. So that brings us to the end of this video. Share this video to your friends or to anyone who will benefit from this video. If you have any questions, please ask us in the comments below. We are always ready to help you. Until then, take care.